Today, I thought, why not talk a little bit more about strategies? The strategies that happen inside ourselves. Hi guys, this is Matthew Tait from Fork in the Road, your channel for transformation. I've done a little bit of work recently working with different people on strategies, both clients and then even unpacking situations with friends and family on their work situations. And so I thought, why not do a little strategy session on myself and show you how you can use strategies on yourself by showing you how I've done a strategy for myself. So I have a couple of different strategies which happen inside of me. There's one in particular, if you ever get anxious, I can fire off my strategy and I can show you how I do it for myself and how I can unpack it. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to record a strategy session. I've already unpacked my strategy, so I've done some of the how. So I won't go into that today, but what I will do is do a recording on installing my strategy. And then I'll sit back, feel it, hear it, see it, think it, whatever it is I tell myself to do from my strategy session. And then after I've recorded that and I've listened to it and I've absorbed it and I've shifted the thing 2 or 3 times, then I'll come out of that and have a feeling as to, do I now have a strategy to remove that any kind of anxiety from my world? Mine, I know quite well. It's generally to do with that there's too much to do. I'm in overwhelm. I've got a lot happening. And more importantly, there's no actual plan to get out of it. If you have a plan to get out of it, you'll work the plan. And so you just work the next part of the plan. It's all good. But if you have no internal plan to get out of that, that's where the anxiety kicks in. The human mind does not like unknown surprises with unknown pain. And so it makes up, something's not right. We've got to get out of this. I'm going to make you feel a certain way until you either do something about it or you run away from it. That's it. You either run away or you do something about it. That's the choices your brain gives you. And so I thought, well, why not do a quick video on that for myself today as a little bit of self-exploration, as a little bit of moving myself forward. And I've got my little list here in front of me. And I've just sat down and thought about, okay, when I do get anxious, what happens? And what generally happens is there'll be a picture coming from into my mind, and it's a picture of something I have to do. And that's fine by itself. It's something I have to do. But sometimes there's 50 pictures of things I have to do. And that's the more the pictures there are, the worse the anxiety might be. So I'm going into business. I'm already in business. I am running businesses. I'm starting new businesses. I need to have strategies for that so that I can either decide I'm not touching that thing, which is perfectly fine, or I am actually going to work on that, but it can't happen tomorrow. Another thing I think that fires off anxiety in a lot of people is when they have things they really want to do versus their responsibilities, paying the bills, that can cause a lot of tension inside a person. And I'm sure it wouldn't take much of a stretch to then extend this philosophy into your own relationships. And so I'm just going to move my microphone a little bit closer so that this recording is much clearer. And so when I think about that, I think about how we can just get the better result. We have a starting point where maybe a picture lands in your mind of something you need to do. And then the end point is some sort of anxiety in the solar plexus or in the body somewhere, or overthinking. It manifests in a variety of ways. Well, that is a superhuman effort to get there. You think about what's going on inside of you. There's a lot of things have to organize in order for that feeling or the overthinking or the catastrophic thinking to fire off. It's amazing. You are a superhuman computer. It's incredible. It's not simple what you're doing. It's an incredibly complex set of tasks your body has to do to produce that. So if you can just for a moment marvel at how incredible you are as a person, you can then marvel at how incredible you are when you can change it, because you can change it, can't you? You will in a moment be able to change it as you go through a strategy session with either myself or with another coach, someone involved in the field of NLP. When you understand this strategy session, you'll start to uncover some beliefs, you'll uncover values, what's important to you, you uncover your actual program to get you from A to B. And we can install some different things on your existing program. We could also install a different program. So that's what we're going to investigate today. How do we just change that, right? That picture still comes up in the mind. Step one of things we have to do. Back to the anxiety and too much to do thing. So then step number 25 is the anxiety that you feel in the body or the overthinking. But there's 24 or 23 steps in between 1 and 25. Well, if you understand what they are and you tweak a few things along the way, you end up with a different feeling. If I tell you 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, you're all on board. If I change one of the numbers, 1 + 6 + 1 does not equal 3 anymore. It equals 8. Do you understand the formula here? Now, that's an oversimplification, but we're going to go into an example right now. And so I've written down strategy here, and we'll see how it feels. So for me, the anxiety that I feel when I have too much to do, it gets up around the 7s and 8s out of 10s. If it's really bad, maybe 9, but kind of stock standard 7 or 8 out of 10, the feeling is how I'd feel. As to how much that was a problem for me, that's the standard coaching question. How is this a problem for you? Well, the problem is I feel the anxiety because my plan's not solid yet. And so if the plan's not solid, then we have to think about a plan that you can work with. So on the conscious level, probably having a conversation saying, okay, you need to have a to-do list, but you also need a to-don't list. We're not going to do this stuff today. It's a capture tool. It's like over there somewhere. And you have to decide on one place where that all lives. So simple things might be insurance. Okay, sure. You just save your insurance documents to a file and you refer to it once a year and have a look. That's the very simple end of the equation. But the difficult end of the equation is you've got these thoughts coming into your mind and you need to capture them and handle them. And there's no system. So to-do lists, yeah. Running Word document or OneNote type lists, great. Having a time of the day when you look at everything that's happening. Some people are very good at this in their head. They've already got the schedule in their head laid out and it's locked in there for them. But other people don't, like me. And so I've got to build that schedule, build it out, and then it lives in my head for a little while. But if there's a lot of moving parts, we need to adjust and shift and just revisit it. And so it might be just looking at your schedule once a day. It might be looking at your schedule every few hours if you're in charge of big teams. Or it might be looking at your schedule once a month. I don't know what it is for you. And this is where you've got to try and test. But these are the logical sides of the equation. But today I'm going to move beyond those logical things because we do need those to help the strategy work if you have no strategy at all. And so inside the strategy, you'll come up with some answers as to what are some things you could do to start to make a part of your world. You see, you want to change yourself internally and know that you can change. You know that you must change if you want to play a bigger game. You need to believe it's possible for you that you can change. And so with those 3 ideas, that it's a must, that you're in control of it, and that you know you can do it, that's the philosophy I like to go in with. Okay, let's jump in. So I'm looking at my little list here, and there's a picture of the to-do list. Sometimes that leads to a thought, but sometimes it leads to a feeling. So if there's a picture of the to-do list, if there's a million of them come in, there's like 2 scenarios in my head. 500 pictures come into my head, feeling, oh, I'm out of control here. Thought, I'm missing something here. It'd be good to get all these done. I need to get these done. Picture, other things that are in the way. I'm doing something else today. I can't do those other things that are in my head. Thought, well, when am I going to go and do those things? And if the next thought on top of that is, I don't know, as a follow-up, maybe I should add in another step to really nail it down. So AD. And then there's a feeling missing out. I'm going to miss out on something, or this is a value. I'm going to let someone down, which is unacceptable. Okay, that's a good one. Then there's a thought, I need a system. And then there's a feeling, if I don't have one, that all is lost. Okay, so, and then the feeling of the tension in the body. Now, that feeling of all is lost, is that a thought or is it a feeling? Just tapping into that for a moment. So I need a system. It's a feeling of loss, I think. Interesting feeling, I think. It's a feeling of loss. It's a feeling of loss. Yeah, I think it's a feeling of loss, because often I don't actually have a conscious thought. There's a feeling of loss. And then you feel the actual tension in the solar plexus. And that's the part we're trying to avoid, any kind of feeling in the solar plexus. Okay, so this is me self-coaching, right? Self-coaching myself so that I can play a bigger game. That's my motivation. I'm like, why face up to this? Just be a man and just deal with it like we all usually do, because that's what us blokes do. Us men do not face reality. We like to just shove it down and never express the feelings, never face the feelings, and never face the thing that's underneath the feelings. Today, we're going to come up with a different strategy so we can handle it and decide no, yes, no, yes. That's a thing we're doing now. Those other things stagger over the day. Obviously, scheduling is a pretty obvious thing to do to calm the system down and decide what you are doing. So I've gone through my little strategy. And so now I'm going to pretend like I'm the coach. And I'm going to record this. And as I record this installation of a new strategy, I'm going to think about it like I'm a coach. So now I'm going to go out of my stuff and mentally go physically and emotionally pretend like I'm helping the man on the screen right now, which is me. And the whole point of this is so that you can understand that you can actually start to coach yourself when you learn the NLP skills. Okay, when you learn how to unpack your own strategy. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record myself doing my own strategy installation. Okay, so coach's hat is on. Okay, here we go. So here I am, the coach, and I'm going to help you today, Matt, go through your own internal strategy. So what I'd like you to do, Matt, is I'd like you to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to bring up the picture of what happens when you feel that anxiety, when there's too much to do. The very first thing that happens, you're probably feeling okay, and then the anxiety starts. There's something happening between a thought or a feeling or a picture. And when you get to the end of that feeling, you end up with the anxiety in the solar plexus. And so we want to overcome that. We want to master that so that we can teach other people really how to do it for themselves. And so close your eyes, because I want to pretend like I am a training company. And I want to learn your strategy on how you become anxious. And I want to absolutely nail it, because I don't want to forget it. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to forget it, because I'm going to pretend like I'm going to train this to someone else. Okay, so let's go through your strategy. So we've already unpacked it. So closing your eyes now. And I want you to feel into that. I want you to see the pictures. I want you to hear the things that are said. And I want you to think the thoughts that are said to yourself. When you have the anxiety in the solar plexus, there's a sequence, isn't there? And we've already unpacked the very first thing. So I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to forget it. I don't want to mess it up. And the very first thing is you get a picture of, you've got a lot of things to do. Yeah, you've got all these pictures, and they're coming in for you. They were coming in from the left. These pictures from the right, should I say. And they're coming in and they're piling into this big pile of pictures in front of you, disorganized, yeah? And so then you have this feeling of, oof, the fear. It's a fear of missing something. And which then fires off the incredible thought of, it'd be good to get all this done, and I need a strategy. But then you'll have a picture of things that are in the way. You've got things in the way. It might be you've got a picture of, the immediate task. Maybe you're doing a work task or a home task or something you have to do with your family, or something's in the way. And then you'll have a thought, well, when am I going to get this thing done? Yeah. And then after the thought, it might be another thought of, I don't know, which then fires off a fear of either missing out on something you really want to do, or a fear of letting someone else down, which then leads to another thought of, I need a system. And then that leads to a feeling that there's no system, hence I'm lost, right? So it's a feeling of being lost. And then that leads to the solar plexus. And this is all happening unconsciously in the background. All you know is you had too much to do and then a feeling of anxiety. So that is your sequence to get there, to the anxiety. And there might be a few little tweaks in between, but we'll roll with this for the moment. So let's go back to the start, because I don't want to forget this. I don't want to mess this up. I really don't want to forget it. So we go in and we start off with a lot of pictures of things to do, and there's lots of them, which leads to a feeling, as you've got your eyes closed, a feeling of excitement. There's an excitement in your heart, because that excitement means opportunity, which leads you to the thought, wow, so many opportunities for incredible growth, which leads to a picture of a schedule. And in that schedule, there's a list of to do, but there's a list of to don't. And you can move things around easily and effortlessly as you spend time every day, 5-10 minutes on your to-do list, but also your to-don't list or to-do later list. And you decide what's important for you on that day. And so you've got this beautiful image of the immediate plan, which leads you to a thought of all those other things. Well, when are they going to happen? Which then leads a thought to, I'm going to schedule a planning day on Saturday so I can actually get this all out of my head. Because it's a good idea to get it out of your head, isn't it? That's the thought that comes up, which leads to an incredible feeling of being centered and grounded, because you've now got a plan. You've got a short-term strategy and you've got a longer-term planning strategy. And that planning strategy, will mean you'll ask questions of your loved ones. What are they doing? When are they doing it? You'll ask questions of your work commitments. When are they doing things? And you'll have this beautiful thing humming. It's a great feeling. And then you'll have this thought in your head. It's so good to have a system. It's so good to work a plan, which leads to a feeling of complete self-acceptance. It leads to a feeling that you have got this under control, which leads to a feeling of knowing you can still have your heart's desire met, whilst at the same time taking care of all of the things that you need to take care of in your responsibilities, which is an overall feeling of forward movement and momentum in all areas of your life. So tapping into that feeling. Now, we don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to forget it. And so now I'd like you to go through again. And this time we're going to go through it again. And we're going to make sure we don't mess this up, and we certainly don't want to forget it, we'll start from this very beginning. Okay, so we all remember the first step, and that is a whole lot of pictures coming into your head from the right, from the top right, all these images coming from in your mind's eye, and they pile on. And there's heaps and heaps of these images of things that need to be done, random things. It could be, the insurance has to be paid. It could be you're selling your house. It could be got to clean up the house. Or it could be I've got some work to do. It could be I've got to pick up my partner. It could be other things. And so there you are. You've got all these pictures coming in, and you have this feeling of incredible gratitude. You are so lucky. And this feeling is right in your heart space because you've got so much opportunity. And then that feeling of being so lucky leads to a thought of let's get a plan together, which leads to a picture. And it's a picture of now your planning board, because there's always a planning board. We need to know what we're doing. We need to know what other people are doing, especially when you want to nail it and scale it. And so in your planning board, you've got today, you've got next week, you've got this quarter, and you've got this year, and the things you're actually aiming for, because you've spent some time, haven't you, to develop that bigger plan. And that image leads to a thought of all of the questions that you have to ask the people around you. That leads to another thought of, I've got this sorted. I know what to do next, which leads to a feeling of momentum and growth. As you have the picture now in your mind's eye of the feelings and the thoughts and the images of the things you'll get when you get to the end of this. And that leads to a thought of it's good to have a system, isn't it? And this system is mine, which leads to a feeling of complete self-acceptance, of complete calm, of complete awareness of what's in front of you, which leads to a feeling of incredible gratitude, because you can now see everything before you, and you're just stepping along that yellow brick road that is laid out in front of you to an incredible place with certainty, with clarity, and with momentum, navigating your steps adequately every step of the way. One more time with your eyes closed, because I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to get it wrong. And I certainly don't want to forget it. We start off at the start of this sequence. We have the vision of all these ideas coming to your mind, all these to-dos, all these ideas, all these things that need capturing, which leads to a feeling of amazing possibility, of incredible growth. And that feeling lives in your heart. It feels good, doesn't it? And as that feeling hits your heart, you have this thought, it's time to get to the bigger purpose plan here. What's the ultimate goal here? What's really driving me? Which leads you to that vision board. Well, it's not a vision board, actually. It's a planning board. But it's a planning board with all the things that are important to you. You've got that planning board. You're spending that time, and you're moving yourself towards your biggest dreams and your biggest desires. Which leads to a thought of what's important about this task. And that leads to another thought is, what do I want instead? As you're thinking through your planning phase, what do I want instead? Which leads to a feeling of excitement in your heart, because that feeling means you're actually getting it. You have permission, and you are moving towards it with action, which leads to a thought in your mind, man, this feels good. And a feeling in your heart, wow, I've really got this. It's like centered, grounded feeling of I've really got this. And that leads to a feeling inside your whole body that you are moving forward toward your goal with purpose, with a plan, and with a vision in front of you. That's a good feeling when you've got that vision, isn't it? And that is the session. And so now if I was coaching myself, which I'll be watching this video later, and I'll be asking myself, how do you feel about this after I've recorded it? How do you feel that that's a problem for you now? If you think about all those images coming into your mind, how do you feel? And is the anxiety in the solar plexus, or is it sort of dissipating? Where is it at, the anxiety in the solar plexus, as a score out of 10? And I will let you know after the session. So I'm going to listen to this recording now. It's been going now for 32 minutes total. Probably the process was 10 or 15 minutes of that. And we'll just check that my anxiety levels, which was feeling this morning, has gone down from a 7, 8, probably 8 out of 10. It wasn't 9, it was about an 8. We'll call it an 8. And so I'll go through this now and then test it on myself. Wish me luck. Hello, everyone. Again, Matt back. I've just done the first run through. I'm opening my eyes and coming to. I've just done the first recording, and that was about my strategies. And I've just taken myself through my own strategies. And so now it's time for the calibration. So beforehand, I was an 8 out of 10 as to I imagine all those pictures coming into my mind, lots of things to do. And now when I have all those pictures, so before it was 8 out of 10 was a problem. I could feel a tension in my solar plexus. That was the score I gave it. Now, when I close my eyes and I imagine all those pictures of all those to-do things coming into my mind, I'm going to say it's 3 out of 10. That's a problem. 3 out of 10, that's a problem. And though 3 out of 10 is, yeah, significantly like half what it was before. 3 to 4, 3 for sure. 3 to 4, 4, 3. So let's take a worst case scenario. If I said it's went from an 8 down to a 4, that's going down by more than half, or by exactly half. That's cool, right? That's a nice shift. Now, in my installation, I talked about the need for planning. So if I don't do any planning, then the anxiety will probably come back. But if I do planning, the anxiety will definitely dissipate because there's a plan. And now my unconscious mind will trust me. So as a coaching session, the very next thing I do is, what is your immediate plan for your day? And what is your longer term plan for week, month, year? And what is the overall life plan to start to keep working on? Because these things evolve as we evolve, right? But it's where you're at right now. Come up with something that's exciting for you. An overall dream or goal you're aiming towards for you, for your family, for your kids, for your wife, for your husband, but for all of you, but for you as well. It's got to be your internal excitement. And so for me, the bigger vision is coaching company, training company. I'm doing some training with my business partner, Claire, Chancellor, and together we are doing some training next year. That's exciting. So that's an immediate goal. But there's lots of hats I have to sell, plates I have to spin in between now and then. And so I want to keep moving forward. And so coming up with a strategy for that in a logical sense, where the information is down on paper somewhere for me to follow up with later. Deciding on what I'm doing right now, one thing, focusing on that. If it's important, doing it. But also knowing all the other things are coming, and that I'll get to decide day by day which ones are important, and continually moving certain things forward. Also learning where to say no in my life is really important, because I say yes a lot and got to say no to some areas of my life at some times. So if I'm doing coaching, I've got to say no to other things. You know, if I'm dealing with, moving house or something like that. I've got to say no to other things in that moment. But it's not saying no forever. It's only saying no for those 3 hours or for that day. You understand? So it's about that gets kicked down the road because it's not appropriate now. All right. So little things make a big difference. And even just this conversation, I can already feel calming my whole system because I'm going to let some things go, not forever, just for the day. And then we have to decide, all right, if you want real momentum, maybe you need to cut a few things out of your life. Small things leading to bigger things. Writing it all down, seeing it all in front of you, feeling it in the body, hearing the words that you need to hear, and thinking the thoughts you need to think, you have your own strategy. Right today, I've really calmed that anxiety I had before about too much to do. And I thought this is a perfect opportunity to self-coach, and it's worked. And I'm going to listen to that again. And I know that the 3 out of 10 anxiety solar plexus feeling will drop to a 1 or 0 on the next pass, because I had 3 rounds of going through my strategy and installing some better ideas. Next is the logical things. Actually do it. Actually plan it. The things I put into the strategy. And what will happen is we'll actually come up with a reality strategy. And a reality strategy will be what you need to sort things out right now. That is my coaching session on strategies, mixed in with, all the different submodalities that go with strategies, which is what you see, what you hear, what you think, what you feel. And then the componentry of that, we're all mixed into this little session. I hope you have enjoyed my strategy session on myself. And this session, what it does for you is it shows you that you can self-coach. I have to teach you guys in our courses how to elicit the strategy effectively and listen out for it and not skip over it in the story, because people skip over the strategy and straight into the story of all the bad things, but they don't stop. And your job as a coach is to slow down the conversation, slow down the story. Otherwise, you end up in a half-an-hour story where you get hypnotized as the coach, which is not very good, because when someone tells you a story, you go into trance. We all do. So that's why it's very important to slow down the conversation and keep reframing and reinforcing the fact that we want to slow this down so we actually really get to understand what happens in your mind as you unpack it. And that is the skill we will teach you in the course. So what you've seen in this video is how you can use it to coach yourself. Today, I've coached myself and I feel so much calmer in my solar plexus. It's like my solar plexus is my alarm bell. Oh, you haven't quite got this under control, Matt. Let's have a look. And of course, a typical male, I will push it down, I will suppress it, I will ignore it, because that's what society, family, everyone has taught us to do. But we need to deal with it, because this is the reason why male suicide is so high, because we suppress for decades until eventually it all goes pop, and then we get into ourselves into a bad place. So you can control your world. You can master your internal state. You can come up with a better strategy inside yourself first, and then outside yourself with putting it on paper. Maybe you need to see it. Maybe you need to feel it. Maybe you need to hear it. Maybe you need to think it. Whatever it is, there needs to be a strategy in the outside world. But first, you've got to understand your inside world. Then you can do the easy outside world strategies and maneuver them towards your strategy. If I was going to give myself a strategy, I've got to make sure it's visual. That's the very first thing in the thing, in my little thing. In my strategies, visual has to come up first. Second is, what are the feelings I'm chasing from that strategy? Some certainty, for sure. And then what are the thoughts that come in? Yeah, for me, I've got some AD all through my communication. I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that. Think. That's the thinking side of things. I need to have adequate, good thoughts that pop into the mind to empower me. And so I'd weave all of that into an actual strategy, right? So first I had the internal strategy, number 1. Step 2, what are you actually doing in your actions every day? This is not enough just by itself. It'll calm you down in this case, but I do need a strategy to process all that information. There's the thinking mind. Process what language, process all the bits so I know what to do, and then visually pick out, oh yeah, that's important today. Do you see how that works? Self-coaching using strategies. Amazing. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go and do some work now because I got some work to do. All right, guys, this is Matt Tait, Fork in the Road Coaching. I hope you enjoyed my strategy session on myself. I'll go and do myself again, get myself down to a 1 out of 10, maybe 0. Let's go for 0. I like no tensions and solar plexus would be nice. All right, Matt Tait, signing out.